Good afternoon, racing fans. This is the Derby Prep Show. I'm with my man, Dave Kaplan. Cap, you're like the hardest working guy in the area, and things have actually calmed down a little bit for you. You're kind of taking a little bit of a step away from TV, but you never really truly get a break, my friend.
And here I am back on TV with the hardest working man in the industry, you. It's great to be here, our Derby Prep Show, back for 2023. I was going through all the horses over the last couple of days. My brother was at the 2-year-old sale in Ocala, so there's a lot going on in the industry.
You're dabbling a little bit in the horse ownership now, aren't you?
A little bit. We had a horse that was at Arlington.
And raced her last week.
Right, Maystart.
Yep.
Finished third last week, yeah. And that got claimed. And then we've been out looking around, and we'll take a shot here or take a shot there. So it's a lot of fun. It's a tough game, but it's fun.
It's good to have a little bit of an impact from the horse ownership end of things. And then when you're betting on the wagering end of things, too, you can kind of say, okay, yes, bad rides happen at times. Bad trips happen at times. And sometimes bad luck just happens. And you have to say, okay, from a bettor's perspective, that stinks from my pocketbook. From an owner's perspective, it really stinks because you got to wait a month, 6 weeks, 2 months sometimes
to get him back
on the track.
Correct. But when you are the races we're going to talk about, those are some quality thoroughbreds.
It is quality thoroughbreds, and that's the thing. We're getting ready for the Derby. We're on to the 100-point races here, so it's so cool to just kind of have everything going on. It's March Madness time. NCAA tournament time. I mean, we got different promotions going on here at Hawthorne. We have our 4-point play promotion where we team up with Sam Adams. I know you guys have been promoted on the air. $4 Sam Adams, NCAA tournament selections, and that. We're sitting in a sports book right now. It's been madness for the tournament this year,
Oh, it's been incredible. I can't wait to watch the Sweet 16 games.
Yep.
And I was on the phone with my brother on my way here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, do we watch the Final Four or do we fly down and watch the Florida Derby? Or maybe do both at the same place?
That's a tough call.
It is.
And that's the cool thing about it, too, getting the ability to go down to some of the different racetracks and see what everything is all about. I mean, we were talking before about possibly being out at Del Mar and watching horses race there. You've seen horses race at Arlington, Gulfstream Park, some of the most beautiful tracks in the country. It's
so
very
I've
cool
never
to
been
see.
to Gulfstream.
Okay.
But I've been to Del Mar. I've been to Santa Anita.
Right.
Obviously, all the tracks in the Chicago area. I'm at my hometown track right here at Hawthorne. But to go down to the Florida Derby, it's called the Curlin Florida Derby, which would be cool to just take in that whole environment.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You're seeing these great racehorses that have been coming through, these Triple Crown winners that, again, it was such a gap, such a break between Triple Crowns. Then all of a sudden you're starting to see those really good racehorses. This year, we haven't really seen possibly the super horses. Forte maybe.
Forte has the most points, clearly.
Yeah.
But two Phils, a local trainer, Larry Ravelli, my guy, who trained our horse. He's a great person. And Larry feels like he's got a shot with this one.
I hope he has a shot. That's the first race we're going to talk about. Let's jump right into it for our races here. The first race we're going to talk about, the aptly named Jeff Ruby Steaks, S-T-E-A-K-S.
What a restaurant.
For the steakhouse, and it is. It's. I love it. I love the way that they named it. This is a cool race, Cap, because you have a field of 12 here. It goes 1 1/8 miles. It's on the synthetic. This is a race that wasn't given the regard it used to. And then Animal Kingdom won the race and went on to win the Derby. And now it's become a 100-point prep. So I think more horses pointing for this race now. Horses trying to get those points to get in. To me, if you're a top 3 finisher in the race, you probably have enough points to get into the Derby. Top 2 for sure. But looking at this field of 12, where did you want to start in this spot?
Well, I mean, there's a number of really good horses in this race. I like a horse called Congruent.
Yep.
It's 5-1 in the morning line. It's got Sonny Leon who rode Rich Strike to the Derby win last year. So that horse, I watched it on tape last night. My wife's out of town. I'm looking, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a shot with it. And then I ran my analytics site, and they have it as a fringe contender. I'm like, all right, it's better than telling me it's too slow.
Fringe contender in a race like this is okay because there is no standout. There is no superstar here. Here's the thing we learned about Sonny Leon last year, too, with Rich Strike. He's not afraid to come from behind. He's not afraid to work his horses through the field, not afraid to work out a trip by any means. That's the running style for Congruent. Kind of settle back, make that one run late, and I think you might get enough pace to run at him
right.
there.
The jockey fits his style, fits this horse like a glove.
Yeah, it definitely does fit this horse like a glove. Another horse in the field that you mentioned that we do have to talk about is Two Phils. I mean, of course, the local hopes are going to be with this guy. It's Larry Ravelli, a guy that we know very well.
Very well.
Jareth Loveberry, a guy that we know very well here. And a horse that has run respectable races. You look, raced at Churchill last year in the Street Sense, victorious. Ran in the LeComte, got some points there and finished in second. Got points again for running in the Risen Star and finishing third. This is a horse, like you mentioned, 13th on the point total right now. I think even if the horse finishes fourth in here, that's going to be enough points to get into the Derby. And that would be very cool to see the local hopes heading down to Kentucky on the first Saturday in May.
Yeah, I'm a huge Larry Ravelli guy.
Yeah.
He's a great, great dude. And Jareth Loveberry was actually our jockey on our horse with Larry. So I like this team. It's 7-2 in the morning line. I thought about going in that direction. It's coming off, I think, just an easy run.
Yeah.
Ran 5 furlongs in 102. But if you look back at its past workouts, like March 9th, here, it did 5 furlongs in 59. That's cruising.
And here's the thing. The horse did it so easy that day. Just cruised under the wire, cruised through 3/4, cruised all the way around the turn for the gallop out. This horse had a ton left in the tank. The cool thing about Jareth Loveberry had gotten hurt during the fairgrounds meet. That was the first day he was released to get on horses, was March 9th. He got on the horse for that workout, worked it, said the horse worked really well there. So Two Phils is the run I'm going to look to in that spot. You have to look to the inside with the one major dude a little bit here, Cap. Here's the thing about it, okay? Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz, they're coming over here. This is a horse that has been running on the turf, and most people say, okay, well, turf horse may not translate to the main track. Turf every once in a while can translate to synthetic, though, and that's why some of these places that put these synthetic surfaces in, I wonder if that's what they're thinking here with Major Dude. Try to find a place where you can go get some points, and then if you can do that, then you find out if you're any good on dirt at Churchill.
With no risk if you're not.
Yeah, and that's very true. And right, say this doesn't work, we're just going to go back on the turf. So, and they're not going to lose anything by any means. I was a little surprised to see 2-1, 5-2, somewhere around there. I thought that was going to be a little bit short for prices. So that was the only reason that I kind of stayed away from that one. Anybody else in this race, when you're looking up and down the field, that kind of jumps off the page a little bit, maybe someone you might want to consider in this spot?
Okay, I don't know why this analytics site that I subscribe to likes it, but they like Baby Billy. That's 30-1 in the morning line. I don't understand it. And then they like Bluebirds Over.
Okay.
Bluebirds Over is an interesting horse. Talented, 12-1. So there are a couple of long shots there.
Bluebirds Over was the horse that I considered as a long shot just because the fact that the horse could show speed and could get away in good order and be a threat. Baby Billy's kind of weird. I mean, you put the blinkers on, maybe that turns things around. You look at the races early on in its career, and the horse wasn't too bad, but just got that maiden score. That horse is going to be a monster price, Cap. So I don't know. I think I would probably say, wait, if I'm betting the race, I'm just going to bet 2 Phils and cheer for Larry Ravelli and hope that we can make some money and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to play both 2 Phils and Congruent and have them boxed up. But if you said to me you could pick who wins, I want Larry Ravelli.
I do, yeah, of course.
I love Larry.
Yeah, we'll be cheering for him.
Great person.
For sure, he is. He's a great person, a very good trainer. Jareth Loveberry, again, an equally good rider. So very cool there. So we'll see how things unfold in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Now, Cap, next race is going to be the Louisiana Derby at the Fairgrounds. This is a big one. This is a really solid race. It's a $1 million purse, 1 mile and 3/16. It's another full field here, Cap. Instant Coffee, the 2-horse, is your favorite here in the morning line. It's a horse that's won 3 out of its 4 starts. They have this horse at a short 2-1 favoritism. And it was interesting. You and I actually agreed on who we picked on top, which I was a little bit surprised because I dug through this race quite a bit. We both ended up with Shopper's Revenge, the one in here.
And we did that without talking.
We haven't talked at all before the show about the selection. So when you were going through this race and going through this field of 12, what was it that made you land on Shopper's Revenge going into the spot? Because you look, Instant Coffee's 2-1. Sun Thunder was going to take some money, and you don't know who else, but what is it that comes up with you for Shopper's Revenge?
It wasn't like his workout times. You know, I look at those hard. Blew me away. But the horse has 3 races on its ledger. It's gone second, first, second. Santana's a very, very accomplished jockey. And I'm getting value at 12-1 in the morning line. all of that added up to me. Watching it run last night on tape, I mean, I'm literally that guy who's laying on my bed with my laptop out, finding clips of different horses.
Yeah.
I just like its running style.
I like the style, too, and look up and down this field of 12. There's really not a whole lot of pace in this race. So a horse like Shopper's Revenge, if you can get back to that race.
One win, he went wire to wire.
Yeah, you get back to that race 2 back. This horse is a definite threat in here. And then that last out was sent off as a 3-2 favorite, gets off slowly, but still recovered and ran a very respectable race and finished in second. And that's the thing. You get a little bit of an education as a young horse, get some dirt kicked back in your face. You just kind of learn how things might unfold. And you can handle a little bit everything. Steve Asmussen could have stayed in Arkansas and wanted to run in the Arkansas Derby, but this could be a horse that he says, okay, it's a little bit younger, maybe need a little bit more time coming out of this race if we run well going to Kentucky. So I'm with you, Cap. We didn't talk before the show.
We did not.
We both agreed on this horse at
I texted
12-1. It was pretty
you guys.
Cool.
All right, here's my play, Shopper's Revenge. And it turns out it's the same horse.
I was a little bit surprised when I saw that as well,
that
too.
You went there.
But that was very cool as well. All right, who else do you want to look to in this race? Are there any others that kind of step up a little bit and you say, okay, because you have a 2-1 favorite in Instant Coffee, it means everybody else is pretty much a price and going to provide a little bit of value.
Yeah, there's a horse called Tappett's Conquest.
Yep.
And there's some interesting things about this horse. It's got Franco on. It's got Brad Cox, who I think is an outstanding trainer. And this horse has won once with Florent Giroux on it.
Yep.
And I just, looking at this horse run yesterday, the analytics all match up. His style fits the track. His style fits the jockey. I feel like this horse is going to be right there.
And I like that Manny Franco has ridden this horse in the past. That's the thing that's a definite positive for Tappett's Conquest, because Giroux rides Jace's Road in here, who's also been riding normally for Brad Cox. So you get Manny Franco, who is familiar with the horse, and I think this is a horse that, with that tactical speed, definitely merits a look. And you never know. I don't know what they expected out of this horse first time out, because it was sent off at 15-1 at Saratoga in its debut, and it missed by less than a length. I mean, it was a really good effort. And then, like you mentioned, Giroux jumps on board, and the horse won from the 10-hole in that next start out. This is a horse that has ability and is probably going to sneak off at double-digit odds, too.
Right. So you're going to have it's 10-1 in the morning line. You may get more than that.
Yeah, I think so.
You may get more than that.
Yeah.
So put those two together, and maybe I have a shot there to make a ticket.
And why not? And that's the thing. You look for some value, especially in a field like this when you have a large field of horses and what is a likely heavy favorite who may not be deserving of such heavy favoritism. Try to find some value. Try to make a little bit of money. So I'm with you, Cap. I think, like I said, we're both on the same horse in Shopper's Revenge. I think we're both kind of hoping this horse gets away in good order from the inside. Tappett's Conquest is definitely worth a look in there.
Yeah, I just thought that odds on Instant Coffee too
short.
low for me.
Yeah, too short, 2-1, and the two races were good, but you look at this now. You're coming in off a layoff into this spot. The works are okay, but not great. It's one of 3 Brad Cox horses in here, and Brad Cox has had this numerous times where the shorter price favorite of the horses doesn't win, and it's one of the longer prices that does win. But when they're all trying to get points, they all have to try to go equally as hard to try to get those points to qualify for the Derby. So we'll see what we get. So you're going to box those horses.
Yep.
I'm probably going to use Tappett's Conquest in their Shopper's Revenge just because of the value. I think I'd throw some win and place money on that horse.
If we hit those two, 1-2-2-1, it'll be a nice ticket.
Yeah, we'll be in good shape.
Both should be double-digit odds.
I would say so, and we'll be in good shape. We'll be heading to the Derby then to go watch 2 Phils run in the Derby. So that would be a perfect setup. For those of you that are handicapping players at Hawthorne as well, go to our website, hawthorneracecourse.com. We have an awesome handicapping contest that takes place. It has NHC qualifying potential in it as well. So for those of you that do want to jump into the contest, we had the NHC, the National Handicapping Championship, just took place a couple of weeks ago in Vegas. 20-plus people were in there from Hawthorne, Cap. Here was the crazy thing about it. It wasn't a Hawthorne person that won. The guy that won the contest had 2 entries there. They both finished in the top 10.
Holy smokes.
He got $750,000 for the victory. He got like another $150,000 for finishing like 6th or 7th. He made $900,000 off his 2 entries.
How awesome. I'd like to hang with that guy.
Yeah, can you imagine being at the final table and you're trying to shuffle around 2 entries? So there were 2 guys in the top 10 with 2 entries.
It's very cool.
That's a good weekend.
Very cool. By the way, 4-point plays for the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
400 at sports bets.
Yep.
400 Kentucky Derby bets. 400 food and beverage. $4 Sam Adams and Twisted Tea, and prize drawings after every round of the tournament.
$4 Sam Adams is the key because people are going to sit out here on the weekend. They're going to watch the tournament games. And it's interesting with how the tournament's set up. It's like a 5:30 game, then a 6:15 tip, then a 7:15 tip, then 8:30. So if you want a channel flip, you can, and some people will do that with the commercials, too.
It's more fun to come here, sit in the leather seats.
It is? You got everything.
You got everything here. You have money going everywhere.
All right, let me ask you this, because we were talking about the WBC, and I heard you talking about the WBC on air. I was back and forth on how interested I was going to be in the WBC last week. Then it was like perfect timing. I was watching the NCAA tournament. It went to a commercial, and I flipped to the WBC about 3 pitches before Trey Turner hit that grand slam.
That was a hell of a grand slam.
Yeah, that's what drew me into it, because before then it was like I was kind of interested but not, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, this is super cool.
Okay, you were a professional baseball player.
Yes, sir.
This guy pitched professionally. I love baseball. It's my favorite sport. Horse racing's right there, but baseball's #1 for me. Like the championship game, Trout had a lousy at bat to end the game. It wasn't like the bases were loaded. It wasn't, for me, the most compelling game. I was more locked in on the NCAA tournament.
Sure. Let me ask you this, and this is just a thought process. What about situational hitting? How many times did the U.S. in that game ground into a double play where you had runners on first and second, no outs, and it completely changes the inning?
And some really good hitters. Like the U.S. team was loaded.
Yeah.
The Japanese team was really good too.
The cool thing about it, and the one thing I thought about in the end, it was like meaningful all-star games taking place at the end, because every team was like an all-star type of roster.
Well, what shocked me was to hear accomplished major league players who make tens of millions of dollars go, well, this was way bigger than the World Series.
That I don't agree with.
Me?
Yeah, that I don't agree with.
That bothered me.
Yeah. It was pretty cool seeing Schwarber hit that bomb the last game, though.
Oh, man.
that guy's a stud.
He's a stud.
All right, the last of our Derby preps this weekend that we're talking about is actually on Sunday. This is the Sunland Park Derby, the Sunland Derby. It's a 50-point race to the winner. There's some interesting twists for this race, Cap, because Bob Baffert has a horse in here. Bob Baffert-trained horses cannot earn Derby points. So some people have chosen to stay with Baffert. Some have chosen to
Explain to me, because my brother and I were talking about that this morning.
It's a loyalty thing. If the Derby's not that important to them, that's the only race that his horses are restricted from. So if they want to run in the Preakness, they can run in the Preakness. If they want to run the Belmont or any of those other races after, the Travers, the Haskell, any of that, they can do so. So some people have said, hey, the Derby's my intention. That's where I want to go. And you're seeing a lot of these horses shift over to Tim Yakteen, who was a longtime assistant to Bob Baffert, and he's a very good trainer as well. Others just stick with Bob and say, okay,
I guess if you're not going to try to get to the Derby.
If you're not trying to go to the Derby, the thing about it, and let's start with the 6, hard to figure in this race, only for the fact you don't see a whole lot of 3-year-old horses that are posting triple-digit buyers before the Derby. This is one of the few that have done so. It was a 100 buyer in that last out, finishing second in the Robert B. Lewis. But like I said, if this horse wins, you can't go to the Derby.
Which, again, I don't understand it. Love the loyalty. I'm a loyalty guy. But if I get in the game, I want to get to the Derby.
Right. Just to walk over.
Can you imagine that? The walk over and go, that's our horse there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what surprises me, too. And I guess if you're looking at maybe some owners, because there's some owners in here, I think, who is it? Mike Pegram's got a portion of this horse. If they've done it before, then maybe. But come on, it's the Kentucky Derby.
It is the Kentucky Derby.
I would have to give, if my horse had a shot, I would have to give my horse a chance to walk over to the paddock and run in the race. We saw Rich strike it in off the also eligibles and win last year.
Right. We did our show, you and I.
Think about it. He wasn't even in the race.
And I remember they're walking towards the gate. My wife, me, my father-in-law, and I'm playing on my Club Hawthorne app. Everything I do is on Club Hawthorne. And my father-in-law said, hey, I like this, this, and this, but I want to throw another horse in with some odds. What do you think of Rich Strike? Honest to God, I go, Ron, no shot. Bam, he wins. He goes, no shot, huh?
Oh, my. Who would have thought the horse would have had a shot, though?
I just went last night when I'm watching all these races, I pulled up Giacomo. And then I pulled up Mind That Bird. And the call by Larry Culmus on Mind That Bird is, here's this horse and this horse and this horse. And Mind That Bird, like he was stunned. that horse came along the rail.
You and I were sitting
Calvin
in the NBC
Bowrail.
Sports Studios last year showing Ryan McGuffey that race. And he couldn't believe, knowing the outcome of the race, that horse had won.
He was way back, and all of a sudden you see him kind of shoot over to the rail, and here he comes, and I know what's going to happen, and it's still thrilling.
Yeah. Here's the thing about it. I think I did like a dozen Derby previews last year. 11 of them I had done before Rich Strike was even in the race. So I never talked about the eventual Derby champ because I didn't even think he was running.
Exactly.
I mean,
when
that
we
was the thing
taped,
about it. Yeah.
he was not eligible.
Yeah, it was not in the race.
I believe Friday he
moments
got put in.
before he would have scratched, he got in. I think it was like less than 5 minutes before the scratch time. The other horse said, "Okay, we're coming out," and they said, "Yeah, let's run."
And there it is.
There you go.
So I like that jockey.
Sonny Leone, Derby champ.
I'm a big fan of Sonny.
It's 100,000 people, and he was unfazed in that ride. It was super cool.
There he is with his.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it was so super cool.
I will now, the rest of my life, put something, $20 on the longest shot in the race.
Why not?
Just because.
Why not? Anything can happen in these races. Traffic can happen. Trip can happen. Whatever. A horse can run the race of its life. They're all lightly raced horses. So
anything can happen.
Anything can happen. All right. With that, long said, getting back to Bob Baffert horse in here.
And how long is his suspension?
I think one more year after this.
I
think one more after this is he's not allowed to run in there.
Wow.
So I know he's fighting it, and he has continued to fight it because he's still racing all over the country. It's just certain areas where he's not allowed to, and this is one of them. Okay, looking at this race now, Cap. You and I are both thinking the same way. We want to try to defeat the 6 hard to figure. So looking at the field here, there are some others, and I think hard to figure will be much, much shorter than 2 to 1. I think that horse goes off at 4 to 5. Okay. So you're going to find some prices and some others. A lot of people don't know a whole lot about trainer Todd Fincher, and he's a guy that wins at a very high percentage. He's got the 4 Henry Q in here.
That's who I'm on.
All right, the horse is 3 to 1. I think you're going to get 4 to 1, 9 to 2, 5 to 1 on this horse. I think this horse can win, and clearly you do as well.
I clearly think this horse can win. I think it's got some interesting workout times. Look, this horse right here, hard to figure.
Yep.
You check its workout time. It's blazing. It is sharp as whatever you want. I'm not playing 4 to 5.
Right.
I don't think that horse is worthy yet of 4 to 5.
Yeah.
So that's why I went with Henry Q.
Henry Q ran a very good race over the racetrack in that last out as well, too, and that was in the Mind That Bird Derby. I mean, this is a horse that
we were talking
when
about.
You're familiar with the racetrack, it's a benefit. Some horses, the turns are different, the track composition's different and all that. So that's a horse that definitely figures. I went right next to it with the 3 Fort Bragg. This is a horse that transferred from Baffert to trainer Tim Yakteen. So this ownership group wants to try to get those points to try to get in. Horse finished 5th in the San Felipe. I don't think it was really a great trip by any means. I don't know kind of if they moved too early or anything, but they keep the same rider. And Hernandez stays aboard. Hernandez rode this horse to its maiden victory. This is the second start off the layoff. It wasn't a bad number in that last out. It wasn't great, but a 91 buyer in a field like this, anything can happen. And again, you're looking for a little bit of a price. So I think both of you and I are thinking the same way kind of for all 3 races. If we're betting on these races, let's try to beat the favorite, see if we can get a little bit of value, make a little bit of money.
And I advise you to go back and pull up the Mind That Bird Derby and watch Henry Q. It went wire to wire. It won by almost 5. It was never, ever threatened.
Right.
Wild on Ice is in this race. That horse finished 3rd in that race.
It's 20 lengths back.
20 lengths back. Exactly right.
Yeah.
This horse, Henry Q, dominated that race.
Yeah.
That's why I looked at it. I watched the race. Yes, I agree. Hard to figure is going to be a very tough horse to beat. And I'm sure, look, Bob Baffert gives you 100% every time. But there's got to be a part of him as he goes through this. It's a little bit extra.
Right.
Little bit more because he wants to stick it to the establishment.
And he does. And here's the thing about it, too. Baffert horses are still running in different preps. So what happens is if they run in the money, those are points that don't go to anyone. So if Baffert's horse wins, nobody's getting 50. Somebody will get 20, 15, 10, and 5.
Correct. It's not like the points transfer.
Right.
Correct.
So there's going to be, and it changes the complexion of available points for horses to get into the Derby. So when we talk about a horse like Two Phils, again, this horse finishes in the top 4, will probably have enough points to get into the Derby. It's going to happen with some other horses too, and it definitely changes the complexion of the race. So, Cap, that's how we see the first 3 races for the Derby prep show. Now, you are a busy man because after this, You're heading off to ESPN. You're doing an afternoon show.
Correct.
Then a Cubs podcast.
Correct.
Then a morning show tomorrow.
Correct.
And then 25-year anniversary, right, for ESPN Radio?
1000. So
and
you'll be there.
I will.
Our friend Dakota Schultz will be there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I know Jay Cutler's coming in, and Sarah Spain's going to be
Is
there.
Edzo coming?
Edzo's flying in
Nice.
from Nashville to do that. So he'll be there. So it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow at the House of Blues.
It is. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see if we talk about a race that happened here long ago, if that's brought up or not. I'll be curious to see if that's the case. I'll give some.
I remember that.
I'll give some insight about how great of athletes those two gentlemen were on the.
Yeah, you were talking about Harry and Yurko.
Yes, exactly.
They were outstanding athletes.
One of them wore my silks in that race.
How about that?
And he didn't win. But that's okay. But that's how Cap and I see it here for the first of our Derby prep shows. Cap, thanks for coming out. We're going to carry this through some of the bigger weekends leading up to the Kentucky
We'll be here
Derby.
next week. Get you set for the Florida Derby.
Florida Derby next week, and then Kentucky Derby's not too far away. First Saturday in May. Looking forward to that.
Cannot flippin' wait.
Maybe we end up there. Maybe we end up in Kentucky. If Ravelli wins, I'm going with him.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
I'm going to do it. I've been to 2 Derbies before. I did one in the infield. I saw 3 strides of the race, and that was it. And then the other
you're
one.
6'6".
Yeah. Then the other one was in the grandstand, and I saw all of the race. I won on them both.
I've never been to the Derby. I've been to Churchill.
Okay.
I've never been to the Derby.
It's an awesome experience, so it's definitely worth checking out. Good luck to everybody with all of your selections this weekend. Cap and I will be back next week. Have a good one.